I feel like it'll be like relatable. Today, wait, what am I saying? The Jess talk. Today we're filming questions with Jess. Yesterday I asked you guys to ask me anything and you did, so today I'm gonna be answering a few of those questions. We'll start with question number 1. You guys asked some really great questions. Do you have a favorite restaurant? That's such a hard question because I feel like it depends on the day and what I'm craving. My all-time favorite restaurant in Pittsburgh, just for sentimental and food reasons, would have to be Round Corner Cantina in Lawrenceville. I love their patio. They just redid the menu, but I've been going there since I was 18, 19, and it's great to see them still growing all those years later. Next question, what's one thing you would tell your younger self that would have helped you most in life? Really good question, especially because I didn't think I would be doing this full-time ever, which I guess just to be able to tell myself to relax, that I have time. I don't have to rush into anything that I don't want to be doing. Now we'll get into some social media questions. This is a good question. Do you have designated times for no social media interaction? Yes, I do. If I can, I try not to work on weekends. Weekends are kind of a time for me to reset, to be able to explore new restaurants or restaurants that I haven't been to yet, just for my own self. And I really try to stay off of social media on especially Saturdays and Sunday mornings. I love Sunday mornings. That's my favorite time to drink coffee, to read, just to like take some time for myself and get ready for the week. How do you get started freelancing? I work in social media too and would love some tips on this. It's so funny because freelancing was not a word anyone used when I was in college. It kind of was something that I realized I was doing probably a year into graduating. Honestly, the best piece of advice I feel like for freelancing is to put yourself out there. It kind of depends on what you're doing, but for social media specifically, definitely have a brand or projects that you've worked on in a portfolio or readily available to show potential clients or people that could be interested, and always stay up to date on learning what's new in your industry, what people are doing. For example, getting into TikTok and Reels, video is the move, hence why I'm sitting here making this, and just not being afraid to start a conversation because you never know where that will take you. Okay, I think we're about 3-4 questions in. So now let's jump into, I asked if you could ask an entrepreneur anything, what would it be? So a lot of the questions here were, how do you get started? How do you attract a following? So I'll start there. How did you get started and how did you attract a following? I have now been doing this for 6 years now. I started Hungry Girl Big City, the Instagram, in 2015, so I was a sophomore in college, and consistency is honestly a big reason why I grew so quickly then. I had such an interest in social media and taking photos of food and making sure that they look good and trying new things and sharing stories that it kind of just all embodied itself into growing from there and just interacting with other people that were doing what I was doing. And making friends on the internet is definitely something growing up I was told not to do, but in the age of social media, you know, you could really message anyone out there. Putting yourself out there and not also being embarrassed by what you're passionate about. I definitely told my friends to follow me. My first few followers are definitely people that I told to follow me. So kind of not being afraid to sell yourself or put yourself out there and be proud of your work. And I think another really cool question that I got was kind of what made you take the leap, what pushed you to, you know, take it as far as you did and make it your full-time job. Why did you quit a 9-to-5? So for me, I kind of had a very untraditional post-college experience. I worked a 6-month internship at Insider in New York, which was 9-to-5, but I was doing food video writing. And once that ended, I moved to being a social media freelance producer at Forbes for the Women's Network, and I was there for about 7 months. So I kind of had these one-off freelancing gigs until I took the end of the summer off in 2018. Once Forbes ended, I traveled to Europe. I was still working a part-time social media marketing gig at a small firm where I'm from in New Jersey. And it kind of was coming back to Pittsburgh for me and wanting to move back that pushed me to kind of be like, okay, I'll give myself a year in Pittsburgh and see if this is something that I could do full time. It definitely wasn't easy. I definitely had moments of, is this working? Can I do this? Will people want to hire me? Am I even making a difference? But now that will be almost 3 years ago, which is crazy to think about, it's been really awesome to see how my account has grown, but also how my work has changed so much. And I think also the fact that I wear so many different hats, and people now more than ever need social media help. So yeah, it's taken off probably a lot more than I expected it to, but I definitely wouldn't have it any other way. Okay, I do want to answer this one. Someone asked, how did you learn about the financial aspects of managing taxes, income, etc.? Yes, I did. So full disclaimer, I went to the University of Pittsburgh. That's what brought me to Pittsburgh. But I studied communications and nonfiction writing. So I had the creative side down, but for me, really learning about, finances and paying taxes as a business owner, expenses, keeping track of receipts, knowing that all the money that my business makes is not necessarily my own income. I mean, if we're being honest, that comes with experience, but also knowing a lot of people that are accountants, asking a lot of people that own businesses themselves how they do it. I've learned a lot from my friends here that are also freelancers and entrepreneurs and deal with paying taxes and expenses and, those sorts of things. So just not being afraid to have conversations about it. I feel like, especially when it comes to money, that's not really something that's widely discussed, or it's presumed that I can't really make a sustainable living, doing social media. But I think because there are so many branches to what I do the partnerships that I post, I do social media for other companies, and I still do a lot of the writing that I went to school for. So it's kind of just being able to take on a bunch of projects and also knowing my value for the work and kind of, estimating how much I'll make in a quarter or a month. What are my expenses? Whose invoices am I paying? Who's paying my invoices? Just really keeping track on those things really sets me up for success there. But I've definitely had a few lessons to learn along those ways. Not getting paid is something that I've experienced, and I hope no one ever has to experience anything like that. So just also learning the hard way, asking for 50% up front, or making sure that, yes, I get the price for the work is what I want it to be, but also I get paid actually literally for the work that I do. So yeah, I hope that answers that question. And then the other question that I really liked was, how do you keep trust in yourself that you're doing what's best for you? How do you deal with doubt? And I feel like that kind of ties into another question that I wanted to answer. Is it stressful having this as a full-time job? Advice for how to avoid anxiety. I will not lie and say that self-doubt does happen. Some people call it imposter syndrome. And kind of just having that feeling where it's like 1 minute you're like, everything's great, everything's going according to plan, I love what I'm doing. And then the next minute it can be like, oh my God, am I even doing this right? Is this even good? Do people even care about this? And I honestly think at the end of the day, the way that I deal with that is, this might sound weird, but to just keep doing it. For example, if I look at my Instagram feed and I'm like, is it does anyone even like this? Does this look weird? Is this what people want? I'll think of it in a business way and be like, okay, so for my next post, how about I test either posting something similar and really looking at the analytics and the comments and who's sharing it and who's responding. Or I'll even be like, okay, so let's try something new. Is there something that people want to see more of, less of? Is there something I haven't posted in a while that, maybe could be of interest to them? So kind of reframing the self-doubt into an experiment in a way, because the great thing with creating content and being able to share content centered around food is that, the possibilities are kind of endless. I can kind of shape that however I want it to be, of course, with my audience in mind. And then also my biggest thing is having friends and acquaintances in the same industry and just having honest and real conversations about how they're feeling and how they deal with self-doubt, or if the workload doesn't look like what they thought it would, or they're looking for a new client. Just being able to talk about those things with other people really helps too. So I'm really thankful for the Pittsburgh creative community and just my friends even that aren't necessarily in the industry but want to listen and just hear what I'm complaining about and have to say. So I feel like I answered most of the questions. A lot of them overlap, But I do want to continue this as a series, so this is the first video, hopefully, of many. I'm going to call it Questions with Jess, and thanks for tuning in. Be sure to send me any questions that you want me to answer in the next video. Well, there you have it. That was the first episode of Questions with Jess. Be sure to ask me your questions for the next episode, and I'll see you then.